Hi, good night. Welcome to Conversation with Rickford Burke. We were experiencing some technical difficulties. We're just about to resolve it, so we'll go on a break for about 60 seconds. And when I come back, we'll get started. Share the link, everybody. Get into all your Guyanese groups and share the link. I'll be back in 60 seconds. Okay, we've got that matter resolved. Good evening, everybody. It's just about 17 minutes after 9 here in New York. Welcome to Conversation with Rickford Burke, wherever you're watching from. I hope you're having a good day. Hello to my friends in Guyana, the Caribbean, watching from Africa, Europe, Asia, wherever you're watching from. I hope you're having a good time. Those of you watching me on YouTube, I want you to take a pause right now. Go to subscribe to my YouTube page. And if you're watching me from Instagram or Facebook, we're now on Instagram actually. And if you're watching me on Instagram or Facebook, like or follow me, whichever. If you like the content of Rickford Burke, Conversation with Rickford Burke, like interacting with this program, share the link, get into all your Guyanese groups, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Facebook Messenger, whether it's on X, whether it's on your email, your WhatsApp, wherever you are, and you're participating in social media, share the link. So tonight we have a very interesting topic. We want to talk about Black empowerment because there's a rise in racism in Guyana, anti-Black racism, and it's perpetrated by the government and some of its supporters. It's perpetrated by Bart Jack Dale. It's perpetrated by Ali and some of despite their camouflage and their smoke screens, they're empowering themselves. And so we're at a crossroads in Guyana. We're the fork in the road. Are we going to go? What is it we're going to do? Are we going to have one people, one nation, one destiny? Or are we going to have this one Guyana? And one Guyana is like MAGA in America. Make America Great Again. That's the same symbolism of one Guyana, which means empowering one set of people, East Indian PPP supporters. That's how I see it. So when you see one Guyana, think PPP East Indians only. That's what they're promoting. Make no bones about it. They can shout and jump and say all they want. That's what they are doing. And I've always said that we live in America, where we promote empowerment of the Black race, because the Black race is being disadvantaged. In Guyana, because of the orientation of the PPP, they don't like the idea of black empowerment, so they call it racism. How dare you guys talk about black empowerment? That is racist. You have to talk about empowerment of everybody. Empowerment of our people too. It's like a competition with the PPP. Let's look at history. Share the link, everybody. Let's look at our history. Throughout history, blacks have been in either servitude, enslaved, some form of slavery, faced some form of discrimination. And so we have been at a disadvantage because we never had the economic, education, empowerment opportunities like other races. For instance, in Guyana, African Guyanese or persons of African descent or African themselves were brought to Guyana in bondage, enslaved, in chattel slavery. Our forebears were living their good lives in Africa. And some white slave owners, colonialists, figure like, hey, we don't have enough animals to plow the field. Let's go get some black people in Africa. And they paid some of their own blacks along with them, their own slave catchers. And they rounded up black people just from all over Ghana, Nigeria, wherever. Put them on ships and ship them out to Europe and the Caribbean and South America, wherever. And made us slaves. We were in bondage. We were treated like animals. We were substitute for the ox and the donkeys and the mules in the fields. I never seen no East Indian being a slave in Guyana. They came to Guyana as indentured servants after our foreparents, indomitable though they be, fought for the abolition of slavery. They rebelled. That's what human beings do when they're in bondage. They rebel. So our ancestors rebelled. We had all sorts of revolutions, and slavery was abolished. And the British and the other Europeans went to India and brought East Indians as indentured servants, which means in exchange for their labor, they were given something. A place to live, whatever, food, money, whatever. They were given something in exchange of their labor. That's not slavery. And it's offensive and an insult to the dignity and honor and legacy of the slaves for anybody to try to lump indentured servants with slaves. They did not endure slavery. But in Guyana, with the PPP, they're so innately and congenitally racist that they want to compare the two because they think it's a competition. Anything black people get, we must get too. Anything we have, black people must not have. Share the link, everybody. So there's this movement now for reparations. All of a sudden, a certain set of people are including indentured servants in the campaign for reparations. For what? This is about slavery. Don't insult the memory of our African ancestors. We denounce the people campaigning to include indentured servants. We denounce anybody who put slavery and indentured servitude at the same level. They're not equal. They're not equivalent. There should be no equivalence. Start your own campaign. Don't ride the backs of the people who are championing the cause of slavery. I'm talking to Orphan Ali and the others in the PPP who are dishonoring the memory of the slaves by now demanding reparations for indentured servants. Let me be clear. Again, it is an insult to the memory of the slaves. They're not comparable. Having said that, let me move on. Keep sharing the link, everybody. This is an important topic. So the PPP has cultivated a culture in Guyana where they don't want African Guyanese to talk about discrimination and put forward plans and recommendations for what we in this country call affirmative action, which means some form of or some measure to bring about equality and to compensate for the disadvantage. So let me demonstrate it simply. This is where the rest of the races are. Let's say this is where the rest of the races are, right? Black people are here. We're at a disadvantage economically, socially, education-wise. And so the measure which we're calling affirmative action is intended to bridge the gap. Simple. And once those measures are implemented, it brings about equality. And that is a problem. So anybody who's fighting affirmative action is fighting equality and want to drive us back into slavery. Keep sharing the link, everybody. So that's what affirmative action is supposed to do. So for instance, in education institutions in this country, America, people who are Black are not accepted into certain schools. Not because they're not good academic achievers or excellent academics at academics. No, it's because they're Black. So for instance, back in the days when you look at Harvard or Yale or whatever, they see a zip code, I'm like, oh, we're not going to admit Rick for work. So what affirmative action measures did were to automatically bring in persons who graduated at the top of their class in certain races and from certain schools into those Ivy League schools. We're not picking up any old dunce and bring them in the top of the barrel. We're not denying anybody anything. We're not saying take out these white people and bring in. No, that's not what it is. It is saying reserve some spaces, some slots in your school for the top graduating students, the 5 top graduating students at so-and-so high school. Simple. Because ordinarily, those top graduating students at so-and-so high school would not get the opportunity to go into a good college. So what that did, it leveled, to some extent, the playing field. Another name for that, it created equal opportunity. Still not equal, but a measure, a modicum of equality that allowed poor children who are bright, But because they're black or because they're poor or they're from a poor neighborhood, they have zero chances of getting into a some good Ivy League education, null institution, educational institution. In Guyana, there's a retrogression. Since this PPP has come to power, and no other government has been in the position of the PPP because no other government enjoyed resources from the oil sector, oil and gas sector, income, revenue. So the PPP is the first. So they're in a unique position. And what they're doing, they're using the money, the revenue from the oil and gas industry for the benefit of their own ethnic collective, their own supporters, friends, family, and supporters. If you go down Golden Grove, you wouldn't see no evidence that Guyana is an oil and gas economy. Going to Buxton, no evidence of that Guyana is an oil and gas economy. Going to Anns Grove, go down the line. Going to Calcutta, Maikoni, going to wherever they're black villages. Hope Town, Belladrum, all those go on the East Quarantine. Liverpool, Manchester, Alness, wherever. Kildonan, come back West Coast, Demerara. West Coast, Demerara. Then Amstel, Stroudville, Iflood, go down the line. West Bank, Bagottville, Sisters, Good Intent, Good Fortune, wherever. No East Bank, Mocha. Grove, Supply. No evidence. You want to check it in more? LBI, Monterey Post, Lenora. PPP ethnic supremacy is on the march. Keep sharing the link. So, what do we do about that? Can anybody point to one East Indian village where we can have a report like this? Can you point to any East Indian village in Guyana where you see that? Where the government tore down dozens of homes of East Indian people? Never. Could you point to one incident where police officers would beat up an East Indian man or woman? One. None. What are we going to do about it? I was trying to get a video. I'm not sure if my technical guys could find it, but there was a video, if anybody could send it to me, when the PPP arranged for Kwame Okoye to take Congressman Jackson, Jonathan Jackson, to, I think it's Tiger Bay. I had a whole lot of black contractors talking to them. I was trying to find that video. Could somebody send it to me? My friend in Britain, if you could find that and send it to me, or my technical guys, if you could find that video for me. I know of at least two persons that, no, three, no, four, five, maybe it's more if I think about it, who got land, black entrepreneurs, who got land under the David Granger administration. And the PPP came in and took it away. Not once, not twice, three times in one example. Guyana's 83,000 square miles. 18% of Guyana is occupied. But the PPP is taking away land from black people. The PPP is breaking down the homes of black people. What do we do about that other than complain? East Indians control the banks, they control commerce, they control everything when it comes to the finance sector. All the businesses, all the distribution, everything they control. Everything. Nothing wrong with that. But is there opportunity for African Guyanese to participate at the same level in the financial sector of Guyana, in the banking sector, in commerce and trade? Is there? Let's go to contracts, procurement, public procurement. CGI did a study and Nigel Hughes did a study. Same result. 95% of large contracts go to East Indians. I pointed that out. I pointed that out a week ago. And a PPP supporter responded that we can find 5 contractors in Guyana who can execute a $1 billion contract. Share the link, everybody. And we did the research and we found 11 who have or have had contracts totaling $1 billion or more. And I published it. Barjadeo, in his dishonesty, then went and said this.
Of attention to the growth and welfare of Guyanese and Afro-Guyanese in particular in the periods when they've been in office. And they had nearly 30, well, over 30-something years of the nearly 40 years when they've been in control of the executive and the parliament of the 50-odd years we've been independent. They've been in power. And they never address this issue because they want to keep people in that manner. So clearly this touched a nerve in their quarters. And I pointed out also that the call for the boycott of the business in New York was consistent with that issue, to keep people in their camp. And how do they do it? By
That's not the right clip. I'll find the right clip. But Barjadeo said that I listed these people and said they were not getting contracts. He said I said they were not getting contracts. I'm gonna do this live. But that's not what I said.
Can you comment on the irresponsible?
That's not what I said. So I'm trying to find clip. But Barjack listed and he claimed that, oh, and he read out these people are getting contracts. But that's not what I said. He justified my reasoning that there are contractors who could manage $1 billion or more in contracts. So why aren't they getting contracts? Why aren't they getting these? I noticed they give, is this Stephen Jacobs, the cricketer, who's a friend of Irfan Ali? And that's fine. That's fine. He's never been a contractor, but all of a sudden he's getting contracts. And this is the problem with the PPP. If you're black, or if you're a supporter of the opposition, you cannot get any services of the government. But if you are black and Burke and others are condemning the government for being racist and pressuring them to equal the playing field, then you'll get a contract, but you got to be friends with the PPP. Did you notice that all of the black people that they give something to oil blocks or land or something, they had to go to the PPP Congress because they don't have black members, barely. So in order to show the world that black people support the PPP, everybody they give a favor to, they are calling services to citizens favors. The PPP own Guyana. Keep sharing it. So they're calling services they render favors. So anybody they give a favor to, oil, block, land, whatever, had to go to the Congress, or you got to go and worship Barrett, kiss his foot. That is not empowering black people. That is throwing crumbs at the table for black people to come and eat, and they must kiss your foot while they're doing it. We're from a brand of African descendants that don't kiss the feet of racists. We ain't about nobody else. I understand that Jack, they give some of the people who favor his party large portions of land. Large portions of land. And they're, in fact, dividing it up and selling it. That's not black empowerment. That's giving a few black people something to pacify them. We have to rid Guyana of this PPP policy that says, if you're from the opposition, you get nothing in the country. You can't run a business. You can't get government contracts. Who the hell is the PPP? Who the hell is Barjack Dale? When President Granger was in power, we didn't have that. President Granger asked for a list of all the people he could boycott and whose businesses they could tear down. Barjack Dale does that. Barack, I want you at your next press conference to answer that. Why you got to tear down black people who don't support the PPP? Why you got to tear down East Indians who don't support the PPP? When the country belongs to all of us. You jump and you call my name at every press conference. I want you to address what I am addressing today. Since you were the Hitler-in-chief of the PPP. And we're going to start a series, an awareness series on this program to talk about black empowerment, to empower black people. Because we're not going to sit down and see you enslave black people, Barjack Dale. Yes, your mission is to enslave black people. You're an entrenched racist. You and Ali and Nanlal, all of y'all are racist. And what we see are smoke screens. Oh, we have a black people here. Stop taking away black people's lands. Stop people making people suffer to get a damn plot of land. Like if it's the people's land, it's the people's government. So what do? I believe strongly in empowerment and I work for empowerment here. And like we were discussing on the push show with Nigel Hughes and Paul Slow last week, Sunday, first of all, I believe that we must change the laws, maybe enshrine it into the Constitution, that the government procurement system must ensure that Afro-Guyanese contractors get at least 40 to 45% of procurement contracts. That's the law here in New York State. That's the rule in the federal government now. Minority and black-owned businesses must get a certain percentage of government contracts. People give it all to East Indians. All of it. All of it. They're so greedy, they have no conscience. They have no conscience. They want everything. Secondly, I guess they probably do have a Black Contractors Association. Start becoming active and more influential. Enlist every Black contractor. Form a Black Chamber of Commerce that is an advocacy group that can do the studies and release the results into the international community showing, yep, in 2023, the government of Guyana awarded 500 contracts. List each contract and the amount of the contract and to whom it was awarded. The race. Let us build a clear picture. Let's build a clear picture of what is emerging in Guyana. You want to see what is emerging in Guyana? Look at the public procurement, because that's where this government spends a lot, maybe 60% of the national budget. We need an in-depth study. Let the Black Chamber of Commerce do that. If we all as African Guyanese committed to elimination of discrimination against Blacks in Guyana. Secondly, Black doctors are complaining about discrimination by the Ministry of Health and the Georgetown Hospital. Former Black Doctors Association, Medical Association. And work towards one, training more Black doctors. Two, fighting for respect and dignity and opportunity for Black doctors. Represent the interests of Black doctors. When Black doctors are unjustly punished or disciplined or discriminated against, hire attorneys and fight for your brothers and sisters. This is where we are now. This is where Guyana is. The country is completely divided. It's like if we have two different countries. Same thing for lawyers. My brothers and sisters in the law fraternity and all the other disciplines and professions in Guyana. Consolidate your strength. Nigel, you said on this program last Sunday that the government is blocking Black attorneys from getting international contracts. What the hell? Form a Black Bar Association. You don't have to call it that. Form another bar association that is an advocacy for Black lawyers. That is an advocate for Black lawyers. That promotes the interests of Black lawyers. That helps to facilitate more Black law students. Raise funds, have galas, pay for some black top students to go to you when they finish their law program at UG. That's a simple way to start black empowerment. Engineers Association, Architects Association, Insurance Brokers Association. Let us do our own thing. The PPP is creating a parallel society. They're creating a parallel society. Let us empower our own people. And as for economic empowerment, let us start training our young people to start their own businesses. Many young people are going to university and doing business administration, management, accounting. Form a black business conglomerate or an institute. Train our young people. Start a business library or whatever you want to call it, where young people can go and get forms to start their own businesses, legal assistance. Right now we have oil and gas. Go throughout the country and talk to our young people and steer them towards whether it's GTI, let them do plumbing, electrical technician, whatever, carpentry, let them get the certification. A lot of international companies will be coming to Guyana. Have our young men and women trained in these vocational subject areas. The government is building all of these houses. They need plumbers. International organizations are building these houses. You need plumbers. You need electricians. Train our young people. Tell them how they could start their own plumbing company. How they can use their grandfather land or house or something and buy a van, and stock up the van with their equipment. Have a 24-hour service. Have it listed. Print out cards. Give it to people. So that in the middle of the night when they need service, they can call you and you're ready to go because your van is equipped. And you have your sign on it like you see here in New York. Jason's Plumbing Services, or whatever the name is. Empower our young people. Same thing, electricians, carpentry, machine operator, bricklayer, mason, whatever. Teach them how to do that. Go through the streets in Alboystown and on the East Bank and Buxton and Golden Grove. You can see them lining on the corners. Those are those who are not employed. Interview them, find out what is their interest, and tell them, here, we can start a program. Use the churches. Use the churches as the schools. Bring the professor or whatever. If you can't pay for them to go to GTI, bring GTI to them. We had an incident in our community here where a young man who's Guyanese and Antiguan was shot. And there was a mass assembly of young people in front of his home, right on 51st Street in Brooklyn, in central Brooklyn. And myself and the Antiguan, I think, Consul General, we were there. And the police was there. And these young people were so hurt and angry. And we were talking to them. And we were asking them, how could we get them? It appeared to be a gang shooting. How could we get them away from the streets? And there was one young man, could never forget, he's from St. Vincent. Very young guy, must be 20. He said he served the prison sentence. And now he's, I forgot the term he used, but let's stay aware. He's now more conscious. He said he's now conscious. Jail made him conscious. And he wanted to know how he could get a skill. And he said, all of these young people here, and I'm telling you about hundreds of them, about 300 of them were there. He said, most of these guys here don't work. And we looked at them and said, what a waste of human resource. These guys are, and all of them are bright. You have to talk to these guys on the street, they could be parliamentarians, they're all bright. In their own way, they're all bright and smart. You can't rob them, you can't smart them. You can't outsmart these guys. They're all smart young men. And so we said, okay, send us a proposal. Send us a proposal. And he texted. He said, get us trained in some of these things, and he listed them. And then get companies to hire us. That was his proposal. And we sat with some of the people, was Mayor Bloomberg from the Bloomberg administration. And we said, okay, Mayor Bloomberg had a program about getting men to school, young men to school. And we said, how about bringing the school to them? And we identify the campuses, which were church halls in the community. And we spoke to colleges about sending lecturers to conduct these programs. And at the end of the program, they should get a certificate in machine operation, plumbing, whatever. A lot of them, most of them were interested in plumbing and becoming an electrician. And it would be far more cost effective to have a lecturer drive, put gas in his car, or give him money for a taxi or the train and the bus or whatever, to come to these young men 3 times a week rather than get 50 of them to go to a school. Half of them probably wouldn't go. And we started that program. Do that in Guyana. Have the lecturer from GTI going to Buxton. If you don't have a facility, use a church. And teach 20 and 15 young men every semester. When they graduate, let them graduate at the GTI with all the other students. Give them their gongs and their caps and their certificates. And at the end of that, arrange a job fair for them and get companies to hire them. That's how we begin to empower young Black men and take them off the streets. It is time we stop complaining. The activists and the advocates will do their job. But while we are complaining, we are not taking any action ourselves to empower our young Black people and to empower Black professionals and Black teachers and Black lawyers and doctors. We have to start empowering our own people so that we can be economically independent. This tonight is a conversation I hope to ignite all across Guyana. Let us see how we can empower our people. A lot of the young people could become miners. Go to GGMC when they have their auction for blocks or whatever they call them. Buy a block, borrow some equipment, buy some equipment. The gold miners, teach our young people how to be poke knockers like the men in the old days. Not everybody's going to start with a dredge. If you could buy a dredge, buy a dredge. become a logger, buy a minibus or a car, become an entrepreneur. We have to become empowered. While our leaders work at the macro level, we need our regional councillors and our city councillors and our town councillors and our NDC leaders to form alliances and go out there and empower young people. Create opportunities for them. Empowerment, empowerment, empowerment. And we hope that in this upcoming election that all of the political parties will, in their manifesto, state what is their plan to empower our young people. Right? All of the political parties. Let us demand that. Let us demand that. You got PNC, you got PPP. Outside of whatever their manifesto is, we want to see something specific for Black people. Specifically for that. We're not accepting that, oh, Black people are members of the society. No, 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 no. It hasn't worked for the last 60 years since Guyana became independent. It has not worked. Our people are left behind. Our young people don't have opportunities. So we want to see now create opportunities for our Black young people. And don't give us nonsense about you give a Black boy a trench to clean. That's slavery. I want to know if the government was not embarrassed by carrying Congressman Jackson to Tiger Bay. For a couple of Black people say, oh, the government gave me a contract to clean the road. Clean the road, my foot. So Tom Jones, the Black guy, is getting a contract for $3 million to clean the road. And Harinath Prasad Singh, this is not somebody's name that I know of, I'm just making up a name, is getting a contract for $5 billion. How do you compare the two? So we're not interested in that. So like I said, tonight's conversation, we intend to ignite a discussion about Black empowerment in Guyana. The PPP could jump high or jump low, that's what we want. We want to see a plan of how you will include African Guyanese in the economic prosperity of Guyana. The Americans call it inclusive growth. Same thing. We want to see Guyana's plan for inclusive growth. We want to see the PNC and its coalition's plan in this upcoming elections for inclusive growth that includes empowerment of Black people, African Guyanese. And lastly, before I close, when Kadaki Amsterdam was shackled, arrested and shackled and labeled a Negro, and Nigel Hughes raised this issue, the Attorney General on behalf of the government objected to Nigel Hughes' complaints of a racist government labeling a man as a Negro with shackles, hand and feet. And they defended it. I did a whole live on that before. We need advocates in Guyana. Too many people are silent on these matters. The church, these pastors in Guyana, good for nothing. Good for nothing because they're not standing up for their members or standing up for the members of society. The government issued a statement after some long nonsense about it's a term that was used from 1900 years ago. So what? They were slaves 100 years ago. Would that justify that black people be made slaves now? That was the government's argument. The police been using the term since 100 years ago. Well, this is not 100 years ago. This is now. And we're saying don't use it. Don't disrespect black people by calling us Negroes. In some countries, that would turn the whole country upside down. But our people are too passive. On the other hand, the PP government is too disrespectful to black people. And I ask again, you think the Jamaican government could call, or any Caribbean government, could call one of their people a Negro and shackle them? They'll turn the whole country upside down. But the people in the government, I'm talking about PPP East Indians, the people who they've cultivated to be racist, not the rest of the country, in the PPP, they're too disrespectful to black people. And this is what must initiate the conversation for black empowerment. Advocacy for our people, proper advocacy. Not again must another black talk show host be arrested because he's black and he has spoken out against racism in the government. And again, I say, if they kill one more person, one more black person, like they kill Comey Wing and they kill Ronald Waddle, they shouldn't be in government. They should cease to exist as a government, and the international community should do that. And I want Bar Jagdeo to take me on that. He talks about everything else. I heard Burke said this. Jagdeo, when you have your press conference, talk about the people that you all killed, the black people that you all killed. Talk about Courtney Comey Wing. Talk about Ronald Waddle. Talk about the 1,400 young black men that were killed by death squads, created and financed by the PPP. I'm over my time by, 7 minutes? Thank you guys for listening. And next Tuesday, on Tuesday, I will have a panel discussion with some economists, with some business experts, some experienced leaders about how do we kickstart black empowerment in Guyana. Until next time, this is Conversation with Rick Verberg for tonight. See you again on Tuesday night. On Thursday night, I'll be talking to Roysdale Ford, who is a candidate for leadership of the PNC. And on Sunday night, I'll be talking to Amanza Walton Desir, who's also a candidate for PNC. And hopefully in the new week, I hope to talk to, if he's available, the current leader of the PNC, Mr. Aubrey Norton. Have a good night, everybody.